follow this. This is from 2005. It's from my wife's collection. She kind of gets to choose whatever comes out of the shop. She gets first choice. And unfortunately, she chooses a lot. But I've been a member of AAW since the late 90s. I did a lot of reading. I'm a retired engineer. Worked at Aircraft Braking Systems in Akron, used to be Goodyear Aerospace for 45 years. Anyway, they had a collaborative effort where we were doing a treadle link. So I thought, well, that's a good way to meet a lot of people in the club and get going. I know a lot of you probably know Hobie Horn. Hobie was in charge of that, and he's a pretty sharp guy, and he knew that, this relatively new turner probably could use something repetitive. So I was tasked with turning tool handles, which was a good start. And I knew how to turn spindles from high school as far as laying them out and getting it moving. This is a lot of spindle work here too, although not so much repetitive. But if you want to get better, repetitive is the way to do that. And Hobie knew that, and he got me pointed in the right direction of the cause. Later on, our club was doing multiple demonstrations, and George Rader did a jewelry box. The club had put together kits that they sold, but you could buy those pieces that do that yourself. That helped me out as well, because you didn't have to go home and try and find wood to make it that was all ready to go and could do so. Of course, I picked a piece of curving maple and a dupe. So if you're going to cut curly maple, you have to have good sharp tools, and you have to be cutting and not scraping. So that was another big step for me. And there's been a lot of people in both clubs. I've gone to the show in Worcester many years. A lot of inspirational pieces that I've seen other people turn that, I'd like to be able to do that. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from. We have a lot of turning to do, so let's go ahead and get started. I have marked out this piece. This piece of wood came from Denny Watts, that's it. So I thought, let's use his wood for this demo. So I've marked out the ends, I've center punched it. I'm going to be turning between centers. There's step centers. If something jams, and again, these are the tools I use to mark them out. At the top, I just put circles and do that. So we'll be back in now. This is the speed sizer, it's called. It's made by a blind wood turner in England. So my jaws are right around 50 millimeters. George would appreciate that being metric, right around 2 inches. I need something pointy to fit in there. Well, maybe we won't mark them that way. Normally, that's how I mark them. That way, they're already set. I'm ready to go, and I can turn right down to them. This is going to be the neck end. The other end is going to be the base. Okay, we'll rough this down real quick just with a spindle roughing gouge. I like to use a face shield when I'm doing this part of it. I don't like stuff hitting me in the face. Put it.
Done.
There's the button door. It's not a project you really want to rush. Get this out with that.
I just never got the disclaim that needless claim.
Okay, I'm kind of rushing because we're off to a really slow start today. But try and speed this up a bit. A bit of a lock right there. Another one here. Okay, then well. That's all right. Going to do the tenons for the chuck. We'll put one on both ends. So this is a little bit of what we're doing, how it's originally done. So here's what we do. I want dovetails, some support, or foot, or tenon. You can kind of combine some of those, so I know that about an inch in would be sufficient. I like I'm going to mark an inch there. It's always easier if those are already in place. I'm going to use a band that comes down to that. I'm not using this as a scraper. It's going to be a peeling cut, so I'm going to take about half of the tenon at a time. Then get that double right in, raise the handle, then push that. Get that piece a little closer. Put it myself to change. So that is not the finished tenon. That's just kind of roughed into the top.
I'm like this and she burning.
Take those edges off, just don't want to touch those with tough. Okay. So this leaves me enough room for my foot, and I could use part of that tenon as a foot. Some support for when I have it chucked.
I see.
And a tenon. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of mark where I want the bottom of the vestas too. So this will be part of the corner. You have to leave enough room to part it off as well. And then the rest is base. Probably don't need all of that. And go to a 5/8 spindle gouge to start shaping. I'll take some of this off because again, I don't need all of that.
That would be good.
If I remember the shape we're doing today.
Right down.
Again, this is probably a little quicker than I'll be doing it at a time.
All right.
But we, like I said, kind of got a late start.
Then
Right now, I'm just trying to waste away some of the material I'm not going to need.
stick with it. And this is done.
So I'm starting to think about the shape now a bit.
Top. That's too big. You are.
Well, think about, so you can decide the cook's going to be here too. Okay, so that's probably a little big for a tenon yet, but that's kind of where I'm going to leave it for now. Again, I work sections back and forth, trying to keep a good proportion. And I forgot, I can raise up. So that's all that I raised. Okay. I'll go to a detail spindle gouge to work on the first area.
Up with it. I don't know.
So as I'm working towards the shape, I'll look at the horizon of this piece. So I'm watching up here as the shape forms, getting a little bit of bounce, which you don't want to do, so lighten up the cut a little bit. Do the same thing on the side. Through that vibration, you want to stop, slow down the cut. That vibration is leaving marks in the piece, so don't hunt that. Get the bevel riding, and bring the tool up, bring the edge over. And just drive it around. Again, it's going to cut in the direction of that bevel. Those are pretty bad. At home, I would take the time to get that nice and smooth because the automobile is outstanding.
Careful.
You can get a nice edge off your cut with much better off. Okay, so then the foot's a little bit big for where I want to go. Plus I need to size the tenon. So
About to let's go.
here in the here, so we're smaller on this balance. Need to make room for starting it off the flat. And is this starting gauge to come down as well?
I think we shall meet you.
Okay. What's going to be my size for? So I'll finish that off. With the beam. You can do this a little later, or do it right now. I'm just going to come in here and clean this surface up.
Just sell it end of the winter.
That end will be exposed later, so I can come back and do that as well. So this is nowhere near as smooth as I like. But with our time constraints, I think I'm going to let that go, just so we can get through the process. Let me take one more cut to try and clean that up. That just bothers me. So I've gone to my 5/8" spindle gouge. It's a nice rigid tool. Trying to do a white cut. That's a little better. Still good. Okay. So, before I part this off, I need to finish my tenon. I have dovetail jaws on my chuck, so I'm going to come in with a 1/2" detail spindle gouge. And I may put my dovetail. So I'm a little bit high of center. I want the tool to come in at center. It's going to be open, actually closed. The flute is pointing that way. I just want the tip of the tool to come in. Now if I come in there and clean that surface, I'm going to undercut it just a bit. Do the same thing on the other end. Once you engage the cut, you can open that flute up a little bit, and that'll give you a cut. So this one, I can rub the bevel, come in, open it up a bit, right on the next one. Okay. So, before we go any further, this is important. This is one of the things I always forget. I'm going to draw a line the entire length of this part at the center. The reason I do the entire length is something always happens where I lose it somewhere or another. So this is some spalted maple. It's not, there's no zone lines in it, but there's a lot of the white showing up, which is fine. But take that down and get a more smooth. So that's actually more than I need, and I'm going to part this off. I'm going to go just a little bit to the left. I want to leave a witness mark on this half. It's more just to see it in the future, so I don't want to go to it because, again, this is going to come on and off. We're going to lose concentricity. But it's always nice to have the hood. So I'm just going to go a little bit to the left to your left. Okay. That. Always want to put your tools back from where you get them most of the time. Makes it much easier to find them next time. Okay, so when I do my hollowing, I turn in reverse for some of it. So while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to take these set screws. I turn on a one-way at home. Mine has a hole on this side. Convenient place to put the chuck key. I always know where it's at. But this works. While I have this at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the face here. Just coming in again with my spindle valve. Again, it's a detail spindle valve. Coming in at 9 o'clock with the flute closed. Once it's in, I open it a bit and it comes in there and makes a mess. Also going to put a slight foot on there. Now, this is a little thicker than I normally go. I usually shoot for about 1/4 of an inch, so I'm actually going to take some more up. Make it a little bit concave, not a lot. And I'll put that chamfer back. And that is all I'm going to do with this piece at the moment. I am going to put the line back. They say it disappears. I really rushed that and it tore the grain, which isn't what I wanted. I'd like to save these pieces so that I can make a finished part from it too. Now, set that aside and go back to this piece. Yep. It's got a little bit of wonky to it, but we're going to go. Have some tear out there that I'm unhappy with, but again, for the demo, we're going to let that go. We will start this around. This is kind of what we're shooting for. I'm going to start that around. So we're going to start out by drilling the center out. This piece will kind of give you an idea of what I'm shooting for. Try and do this without pulling it down. First thing I do, I'm going to clean this face up. I want to leave my witness mark that tells me what the size of the thing. I want a concave surface there because that's what I'm going to drill into. Don't typically use that. This is the Carter Products piece. I thought I had all this stuff laid out. Okay, I'm going to want to come in. We're going to come in 3 inches. This just happens to be about halfway between those two set screws. Get that close. Not touching yet. I'm going to slow this down. As long as there's skips coming out, I'm going to keep going. Okay. So now I have my depth. I know how far in I want to go for column. Depending on what size piece I'm working, these different tools. These are hunter tools. It's a carbide. It's a very small cutter. It's cup shape. It does cut. It's not a scraper. But it kind of gets me good. And again, this is it's kind of boring, which is why I cut that piece apart. It's kind of tough to cut a piece apart once you finish turning it, but it allows you to see what the insides is like. So I'm gonna go kind of like that. That's how all this stuff I know. And again, like I say, this is a bit boring. It would help if I'm going to turn in reverse if I put the lathe in reverse. Okay, let's try again. Again, hollowing is kind of one of the worst things to watch somebody turn. I picked this up after the Cincinnati show. One of the guys down there was demonstrating it. Before that, I would use this piece of brass, and I could stick it in there to collect the chips out. But that doesn't do a lot of it. Yeah.
It's not regular size. Sculpture this well
I like Eric in book.
so I can bring instruction to say it before.
Check how far in I am. So, back here. Okay, I can still do a little bit more with this. Like that. Okay, so that gets me started. It's not hollowed as much as I normally would do. I shoot for roughly 1/4 of an inch, but once I get that started, I switch to one-way termite tool. It's basically a ring tool.
Double back.
Yep. So that's going to go in. I'm going to start like this. I'll open it up just a bit and start carving out. I want to go to that surface where the drill bit ended and work my way down that surface. The piece that's going around, that's off the tool. So that's what the inside looks like after cutting with these tools.
I can see the beam.
And it's a lot by feel. If you get it opened up too much, it will try to self-feed. So I keep this hand up against the tool rest to kind of limit it going in too far. I keep my other arm over the top of it in case it catches, so that keeps it from getting out of control. Again, these are usually light cuts. I'm not in a time constraint when I'm doing these at home, so I can take my time and do light cuts. Right now, trying to work through this quickly. I'm going to smooth that up just a little more. I don't like leaving it like that. Actually, so there's still a lot of hollowing left to do, but again, I want to get through the process. I will come back and do this, finish this later.
That's the thing.
So at this point, I have all these areas done. I'm going to bring up into the neck a bit. To do that, if these are F-style Japanese auger bits, they cut very, very nicely. If you're doing pens, you get the 7mm one for slimline. They give you a phenomenal cut. It tracks straight. It doesn't break out when it comes out the other end. Very sharp tools and work fine. In the United States, I think Taylor Tool Company sells them. You can find them online. So I know that when I do my neck, I need at least a 3/4 inch hole down through the stud. So I'm going to come in and start a hole. What I don't want to do is just have a square edge in there. I want to have a bit of a taper. I think you could see that on the piece going around.
Thank you.
I'll try to remember to put these in my pocket so I can have a little bit. I'm going to speed down a bit. I'm going to go in about 3/4 of a minute. Okay. So now I have a little bit of a tape that's matter up into the dent. I want to take the edges off of that. Take right in, excuse. Termite tool works for that as well. You can do a half-inch spindle gouge too. Will work for it.
So I just did it. This is
Again, I'm starting to use it clean first.
it's clear.
Spin, twist, loop.
But we switch it again. I'll tell
So this is nowhere near hollow. I got a lot of material up in here still. It's really rough around here, but I want to get through the process. At this point, I would come in with a scraper and clean up any of the rough areas. And actually, I could clean this up better with a carbide tool. Again, it's a hunter tool.
Up by so they
So I will come in there and see if we can't clean it up a bit. Okay. Again, there will be a surface up towards the back that's relatively clean, that's off of the ring, I hate to call it a ring tool, but it's the one-way termite tool. And a little bit of this just inside. In the middle, there's still a lot of work to do, but I don't want to keep doing that. Or we'll never get done. Okay, so last thing I do once it's hollowed, I can come in here now and size this hole for the base. Because this is the point where we end up that point, gluing that back together. I'm going to go with the 3/8 spindle gouge here. Half inch is fine too. Again, all of these cuts have to be delicate. We've got a lot of overhang here. I've got peaks to it, but that was a 40/40 grind gouge. And you could use that too, actually. I'm going to take the bulk of that out. I still left enough that there's a witness, so I know about where it is. But I'm going to come in here with the flute open at about 10 o'clock on Willow North. And work my way out towards that rim. Trying to keep it straight. I'm looking at the far side. I'm not looking at the tool. looking to see how that's cutting.
I stay. You do. Just to keep the things on.
Okay, so that is perfect. That's just about what I want. I still need to clean this face up here now, and as you can see, there's a lot of that left. I had cleaned this face up a little bit when we did the front. So again, this ring that's left from the tenon originally, it's kind of there as a guide. Because this wobbles, if you went till all that disappears, your hole would be way too big. So now I just want to take this face off. So get the bevel rubbing, start it in there. You want it undercut, less the hair. Okay, what do you put a lace paper there? And again, I did a terrible job on this because I rushed it. This wood is kind of soft and has, I don't know if they call that white rot or not. But with the two undercuts, it meets there pretty nice now. So this is to the point where I would glue it together. When I glue these, I use this epoxy. It's 24-hour cure. It's not brittle. It's a very ductile epoxy. It makes a very good joint. And you need a really good joint because we're going to turn this around to do the rest of it. And again, this is not indicative of what I do inside, but I'm going to send that around so that you can see it. Thank you. Don't leave your key in your chuck like that. Okay, so 24 hours later, we have our piece all glued together, ready to go. This is the other half of that piece. It was a longer piece. I cut it in half and I made this in preparation. One of the things I normally do is mark the jaws so that when I come back, I can put it into the same spot again. And typically I mark between number 1 and number 4 jaw. Okay, so it's a little wobbly again. It took the two pieces off. I glued them together, and it's never going to be concentric. Somehow though, I lost the center. That's it. So I'm going to bring the tailstock up, and I am going to use that. You see? It's not very centralized anymore, concentric. That's okay. This has all been sanded. Typically when I get to that point, I'll sand all that. You want to sand it before you glue that base in. Once you glue it, it's kind of hard to get down in there to do any sanding. So you want to sand that ahead of time. So this has all been sanded. A little bit of a detail here. The other thing I have done here is I have marked this. So I know at this location, I have a hole inside. It looks like one inch at that point. I know back in here is where I had the other drill. So I know I can get down to about 1.25 inches. You want to know that. I needed to mark that one, but I haven't marked it yet. But I know I went in 3/4 of an inch from my other depth, which was 3 inches. So I will mark that because it's going to get glued together. And by the time it's drying to get back to it, you always forget. So we can start shaping now on this piece. Going back to my 5/8 inch spindle gouge. I'm going to start this slow. Lighter cuts go better, but they take a little longer too. So this is kind of the point where you want to decide what shape you want. You're going to have to come in and hollow from this end. The bigger you make it, the more you have to hollow. Okay, so I know at this corner I still got, probably don't want to go smaller than around 1 inch, 1/4 dimension at tail. Let's see where we're at the So I'm at 2 1/8, so I can take off 1/2 inch easy on each side. Well, 3/8. So here's a 1/2 inch spindle gouge here. A detail spindle gouge. So this surface is no longer concentric. I'm going to have to do a little cutting there.
Just like it.
So come in with the bevel rubbing, open up the tool bit. And again, I'm watching the horizon.
West.
And working back and forth just to bring those curves down to a nice unit that Okay, so that's a shape. we will go with that. It's going to be some following. It'll work.
Give it a second. Why then? Ow. The summer sticky hot. Why?
So I am going to start on this end. I'm going to do as much as I can with the shale stock still in place. That's kind of where we're at. I think I put them up out of order.
30 kids.
So come in on the bevel. And again, you should be light cuts. When it starts jumping around like that, you need to lighten it up. I tend to like to have a little bit of a edge on there. It'll match this end, so I'm going to come back and do that. Again, 9 o'clock or 3, I guess I'm at clock. Open it up a bit, comes through. It's nice.
It's there. Oh, I think.
So again, these are blade cuts. I'm going to go to a 3/8 inch spindle gauge because I can fit it in a little further. As I cut in, I'm looking down this side. I'm trying to stay parallel with that. This gets in the way. Whoop. Oh, now I've got to recut that strip. And until I recut that, there's a little thread there that is going to keep catching.
Listen up. I think so.
You need to quit cash. Did you have flaps there, James?
That's me. Black looking. Now, I can use that one. That's it. I should put this in.
Okay, again, glue closed, coming in right at 9 o'clock. Good stop, closing it up. And as you get in, you need to close it before you run into the lumpy side. Okay, and that's about as much as you can do. Okay.
That's what.
Any questions? Okay. We're going to stick with the 3/8" spindle gouge. This will no longer be concentric where it bouncing. I'm going to try and take out the center first just to get it on with. So again, you want to take light cuts. That one was getting a bit fluffy. That's pretty. Okay. So I left this a little bigger than I normally would.
Listen,
17 and 3/8 there.
that means
So I could come in there with 1-inch cutter. We'll slow this down. Again, as long as there's chips coming out, I'll keep going. Okay.
just like a
Okay. When you're drilling, if you just don't put it tight, just snug, that'll help keep that column from shaking a bit. On my tailstock, I can do that as well. This one locks down really well. it wasn't allowing me to do that.
How many of these?
Okay,
Please. Content.
so now we get back to
Right.
hollowing out this. You're gonna stick with the back, or 3/8 spindle gouge.
You reached the other side.
What's that?
You reached the other side now. Or the hole came out the other way. They're all, not yet.
I can't hear you, Mike.
He wanted to know if the hole went all the way
For
through.
the holes?
Yes.
Neck? Okay.
Yes, went all the way through. We need some speed.
So,
Okay, stay. I was trying to get the lump off. I'm gonna try to come in
slow it down, Mr.
here.
Clovers.
Under half-inch spindle up for detail spindle gouge. So just light cuts, work it down. I typically would go a little more. Not the best wood for this, but not bad. Just gotta take light cuts, so, and keep moving. Time to do a little sanding. When I do this, I go ahead and just start with 80 grit. Might not need it, or it might need it. It's kind of tough, but I make these little sticks. There's a little bit of hook and latch material on it. I take a 2-inch. I'll lay it so that this side's going to stick out a little more, kind of like that. Turn the speed down. And that's how I sand inside. And again, it's not concentric anymore. When that happens, it's not important. So I will go through all the grits. Some of them will stop and sand with the grain. Once that's all sanded, I'll sand the outside as well. Typically I'll start with 220 on the outside. but you need to start with whatever it needs. This is a little rougher than I would normally do at home. I wouldn't pull it off at this point, but I have to try and stay on schedule. We will call that finished. I don't know if I mentioned it or not. Can send that around. But this is how I glue them together. This is the backup piece in case I had a problem with the other one. So again, I put the epoxy in, I clamp it light, and I sit there for a couple of days usually. And that's how I hold it while it's glued. So, we're sanded. We're all done other than this foot. So somehow we have to hold it to do that foot. A guy in San Diego was making these. He doesn't make them anymore. It's basically just a jam chuck, has a number 2 Morse taper on it. It's going to reach in the bottom. Has a collar here to kind of set that gap, get that out of the way. Quit making these because the price of the materials went so high. We might be able to talk Pete into making them for us. Okay, so this is now clamped between bottom and this chuck. Bring the cone up. It has a little pin in it that engages the cone so that it drives and won't spin at the mark. So this is also a good one for a 3/8 inch spindle jowl. I've already got a foot defined, so I have a lot of material here that I can remove. Sometimes I'll use this to make a foot too. Now, this is a piece I had laying around, and I decided, there's no way I can resand and finish a part, and I want to be able to do that with pieces that are going around. So I thought I'll get this one ready to where it's ready to just take the foot off. So I'm a firm believer in finishing the foot with some kind of design. Doesn't have to be fancy, but you need to do something there. Clean up that edge, that's going to be exposed. Now we start thinking about what we want inside there. Let's see more of this out of the way. And just do a slow cut, let the wood come to the tool. They tend to want to vibrate a little there. And that'll leave a little pattern there like a chatter tool. Come in with a parting tool, kind of on this corner, just to define a little area. Again, very easy, doesn't take long. I would sand that now.
Just get the,
Take this down, maybe a little more. Typically, I'll come out here, make a spot where I want to cut it. Leaves a little more that has to be taken off, but so I would sand all that now. I use flush cut saw to take this off so that I don't score up the bottom of the foot. And I'll put a finger on each side of it to keep it bowed out a bit. Just cut that off. Little flex cut tool can come in here and just whittle this away. Not going to do that for you. Pass that around. But that's the gist of it. Sorry we had a rush, but there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different turning techniques in doing it. So you're dealing with end grain, spindle turning, fitting pieces and jamming them, holding them different ways. So